In today's episode, I am joined by Christian, who is the president of Love My Point. Love My Point is a new restaurant group that is growing rapidly across the United States. And they've done a ton to try and automate people's technology so that the franchisees can be successful. I had the opportunity to go to one of their stores here locally in Texas, and it was off the charts. If you don't know me, my name is Jeremy Julian. I am the Chief Revenue Officer for CBS North Star. We wrote the North Star point of sale solution for multi units. Please check us out at cbsnorthstar.com. And now, on to our episode where Christian shares what they're trying to do with Love My Point and continue to grow across the US. Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. I thank everyone out there for joining us. As I say each and every time, we know you guys got lots of choices, so thanks for hanging out with us this week on the show. Today, I love these episodes because I get to talk to restaurant founders, restaurant owners, restaurant operators, and we get to talk about all of the ins and outs of how they're utilizing tech to do the things that they do. And so, Christian, before we jump into kind of, for those that aren't watching on video and can't read the big print behind you, why don't you give us a little intro to who Christian is, and then we can talk about what you get to do professionally.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come out on your show. So thank you for that. As far as who I am and what I do, my name's Christian, and I'm the president over here at the Point Pub and Grill. And we are a small American style pub that is an emerging franchise brand.
Very cool. And talk to me a little bit about your background. Where did restaurants come from? Did you grow up in the restaurants? Did you just decide, hey, this is a really cool thing that I want to try and figure out how to do? Help me get a little background as to why Christian decided to be in the restaurant space.
Yeah, I actually did start out in the restaurant industry. I've got family overseas, and we have family restaurants in France, actually. And with my parents here in the US, we had a small restaurant when I was probably about 6. And so I started there as a 6-year-old. My dad would dress me up in a chef outfit, and I would go and pass out the plates to the tables. And he definitely took advantage of how cute I was and trying to get bigger tips from that. And that's how I started out. As I grew up, I got the opportunity to work internationally in Europe and then also work here in the US. And I've done just about every food concept from fine dining to retirement, and then now a more casual dining as well with the Point Pub and Grill.
Yeah. So how would you define, you said in kind of your intro about the Point is an American style pub. How would you define that different than, I guess, just why say the American style pub? Because I'm assuming that's a little bit of a different concept than maybe what you might hear and see overseas.
Yeah. For us, that just means that we're more family friendly, and then of course we do have a more American influence on our menu. So for us, an American style pub, if we look at the pub word at its root, it's public house. So we really want to be that place for everybody, whether it's a family or a business meeting or somebody just walking down the street with their dog, hoping to have a cold beer before they go home. From a menu perspective, we try to have a little bit of something for everybody. So that means chef specials or healthy food items or something that's maybe a little bit more indulgent too.
I love that. And for those that maybe haven't traveled the world the way that you have, I guess what defines even what you would expect to see in maybe England as far as a pub? Because I know for the first time that I went to the UK, I was like, this is very different than what I would have thought of when I come to a pub, especially when you're going to eat. Because again, to me, where I've seen bars and grills here stateside, it's definitely not the same as when you go to the UK. And it's been funny, some of the influences, some of the new brands that I've seen that have gone there. But for our listeners that maybe haven't had that opportunity to travel to Europe, how would you say the experience and the service style differs from what you guys do to where things are over there?
It's a great question. And I don't have a ton of experience with European style pubs. In the experience that I have had with them, it would differ from our model in that ours is more personalized. We are more of a full service model, whereas the pubs that I've been in Europe are typically counter service. We've got a larger and more upscale menu than some of the more casual pubs that are typically pretty limited from a menu perspective, at least the ones that I've been to. And then again, I've never been to a pub and seen somebody bring their infant or their dogs for sure, but their younger family members. I haven't experienced that in Europe as much.
Yeah, no, and I think that's 100% the case, at least from my experiences in Europe for sure. You're walking up to the counter, so it's a little bit of a hybrid because you can still sit down, but you go up to the counter. And the first time I ever went to the UK, it was funny because we went in and there was nobody to seat us, And we just went and sat at a table and we're like, why is nobody coming to help us? And ultimately, it's because you're supposed to go up to the bartender and order, and then you tell them your table number where you're going to go sit down, and they'll put that into the POS. And so I just thought it was an interesting thing. And to your point as well, I think the quality of the food, it was really just a means to balance out the balance out their spend, because really they were there to have beer and cider and wine and those kind of things, more so than the beer being or than the food being at the center of the menu and the food being the center of the experience. So tell me why a little bit, Christian, why have you guys chosen to upscale the food? Because there's a lot of choices that you guys have to make. And I've checked out the menu. I've not had a chance yet to go to the store that's local here to me in the DFW area, but I'd love to understand a little bit about, was it the influence that you have and the rest of your team has from other places? Is it, help me understand your guys' thought process as you guys go through menu selection and what's going to get put on the menu, and why even really the upscale? Because some people are going to love it and some people are going to be like, they might turn their nose up to it. And so love to understand a little bit about why you guys went that route.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we went terribly upscale. I would say that we're more upscale than perhaps a more European concept. But at the end of the day, we want to provide a more value oriented item. So that way people feel like it's justified by the price. And it's not upscale in the essence that it would be considered, ever be considered, say, like pretentious or more like white napkin style service. It's very casual. We like to use fresh ingredients whenever possible, of course. We want to hand make or craft all of our items as much as possible, dealing with the type of volume that we see. I would honestly say that it's more of a hybrid model because we're looking to apply to just the average American family. And the average American family, in my opinion, isn't always looking for that upscale dining experience.
Yeah, but they also want something in today's day and age in the Instagrammable world. They also want something that's flavorful. Might not be just your standard burger and fries on a plate. They're looking for other types of items. So, again, how do you guys go through that menu innovation? Before, I know we're going to jump into tech here in just a couple minutes, but how do you guys go through that menu innovation as you guys are trying to make something that's craveable and is approachable for a family, approachable for a couple of people after work that are going to stop by and grab a beer and have a meal? How do you guys evaluate that and decide? Is it just, hey, what the leadership says they think they'll like and they just want to make items? And I'm good with all of those answers. I think it's cool. We've got somebody that has what I would consider to be an upscale sports bar, and he's got tomahawk pork chops that are grilled on a cedar grill and with a honey glaze or a peach honey glaze. Like but it's still a sports bar. There's still a 60-inch TV or 80-inch TV sitting right behind your head while you're eating this higher scale item. And I love that idea, but it's also something that's recognizable because it's a pork chop type of thing. And so love to understand kind of your guys' thought process as it goes into menu innovation and continuing to roll and move forward on those things.
Yeah, yeah. As far as like how we decide on food menu items or how we try to innovate, we honestly look at it from a number of perspectives, but it always starts with just data. And so we, of course, subscribe to a number of services that give us really accurate, really good data on menu trends within the US or even internationally. And so when we are looking at a menu revision for our main menu, we typically start there to see what's popular, what may be popular, what's trending, et cetera. And then we evaluate it to see whether or not it would fit within our concept. And then it does go to that management team, that management table. And for our corporate locations, our team for management, I think is right around 8 people off the top of my head. And so it is a little bit of a roundtable discussion where everybody is welcomed and safe to give criticism or input on items that we're thinking about. And then it goes into testing. And then a lot of times it goes to our special sheets after that too. And that's another thing that kind of separates us apart from other concepts similar to ours, in that we are always doing chef specials, tating them daily, weekly, biweekly, or whatever. And it's a great opportunity to get fresh items out to our clientele, but then also test those new items to see if it gains traction.
I love that concept because now you're iterating, you're changing, and then likely, I guess I'd love to understand as you guys are doing that, how does tech play a part, or at least in getting that feedback? Are you guys using any kind of digital feedback as to what people are liking about the food and specials so that you guys may or may not be able to tweak it? I'd just love to understand if you guys have any secret unlocks for some of our listeners out there that you guys are doing that as you guys are putting these on the specials menu.
Yeah. So as far as feedback goes, we talk to our customers. Honestly, my managers, when they're on the floor, They don't have a position, so to speak. Their main job is to first and foremost support the staff. And then secondarily, they just talk to guests and they try to enhance that customer interaction. And so we get a lot of great feedback from our regulars. Of course, we track things like guest recidivancy and how often guests are returning. We track purchase history. What are they getting? What's growing? What's not growing? What might be losing popularity, et cetera. When we go and we take those dishes to propose putting them on the main menu, we do look at that full picture of what is social media saying about these items? What are our regulars saying? We do use secret shoppers. And so, what are our secret shoppers saying as well? And then going back to that data as well. What does the data tell us about the success or viability of that item?
I love that. And all too often, I think when I talk to different restaurateurs, they haven't quite gotten there. So talk me through, Christian, because I know when we were emailing back and forth about you coming on the show, you really wanted to talk about the amount of investment that you guys have made in kind of creating something that you can help franchisees be successful. And I've seen people do it really well, and I've seen people struggle a little bit where they don't have it figured out. And it's a little bit of the Wild West once they get to the franchise world. Help me understand what it is that you guys are helping trying to put together for your franchisees as you guys are going out to market, and really how you guys are also the proverbial eating your own dog food because you're doing it in your own restaurants, trying to figure it out. So I'd love to have you talk through how you guys are building that out to ensure that your franchisees can be successful, and ultimately that you guys are also doing the same thing for yourself.
I love that
So
saying.
doing
I've
thing.
never heard the eating your own dog food thing before, but
It's all
I
good.
just
Well,
have
and
to
I
say I'm going to steal that. I love that. That's really good.
think it's one of those things that I love that you guys are in it every day. So you're having to live the life of what you're expecting the franchisees to do. And I think I've seen too many brands that on a whiteboard it looks great. On a whiteboard everything looked perfect, but at the end of the day it doesn't always translate to execution in the restaurant and guest satisfaction or staff satisfaction. And you guys at the same time are now living it every day and then asking people to do the same thing you guys did. And so you're not asking your franchisees to do something you're not already doing every day.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so important. And I think that it's honestly something that's been lost in both like a leadership perspective and in a business franchisee, franchisor arena as well. As far as what we provide from a technology standpoint, we've made huge investments in our tech stack. We had talked a little bit about our learning management system that we have when we were talking earlier. And I think that alone, we've been developing that for going on 5 years now. And we have not been a franchise company for that long at all. So a huge amount of time and money was put into that to create over 100 hours of online training for every single position with company specific proprietary training materials, not a lot of like cut and paste stuff. So, that's a huge resource for franchisees, especially because we don't charge them for it. We provide that to them for free, and we provide that to all of their staff members as well. So when we implemented that, we saw our training costs go down by 30%, which is pretty big.
Pretty
Stuff like that.
significant.
It's huge. It's huge. And pairing that with our inventory management system, our recipe management system, all of these like small integrations that we have between our softwares, it's been a huge investment. So I think that it obviously creates a lot of value for franchisees. And at the end of the day, we aren't doing anything that we aren't asking them to do anything that we wouldn't do ourselves. And we also want to realize that we don't know everything either. And so we're
Mhm.
constantly improving our model. We're constantly trying to be better in our space. And so one of the best things that we benefit from as a group is that we have franchisees that are really experienced and really astute business people. And so I learn every day from them as well. I become better. And that's honestly the power of that agreement is to be stronger together than you are separately.
And now a word from one of our sponsors. Every restaurant operator understands the chaos of a restaurant kitchen during the meal rush. Restaurant Technologies Total Oil Management Solutions is an end-to-end automated oil management system that delivers, filters, monitors, and recycles your cooking oil, taking the dirtiest jobs out of your kitchen and letting your employees focus on more important tasks. Control the kitchen chaos with Restaurant Technologies and make your kitchen safer. No upfront cost. To learn more, check out rti-inc.com or call 888-796-4996. So, Christian, share a little bit about what is a learning management system in general. And it sounds like you guys did quite a bit to invest in the tool to try and get you guys where almost the business becomes scalable because you guys have got your systems and processes and those kind of things figured out. But for those that aren't familiar or have not spent the time to invest in that, help our listeners understand what is a learning management system and really how did you guys tackle that project?
Yeah, a learning management system, the easiest way that I can describe it is just that it's an online academy. So it's going to really hold all of your learning materials, whether that's training or any sort of processes, documents, etc. At least that's what it does for us. What's the point online academy essentially? And it covers every position from general manager all the way down to dishwasher. And we have over 100 hours of online training for all of those positions. It's just a huge tool to be able to transfer knowledge efficiently. And for the restaurant industry, it's great because we're able to have our new employees come in with already a baseline set of knowledge on our recipes or our processes. So we're no longer training people how to do things. We're mostly just training them where things are at that point. That's been the basis of those big savings that we had talked about. And I had mentioned it earlier, I think, but we had developed that for probably 2 years before we released it. It was just a ton of content that we created organically to be able to offer people to make sure it was accurate and proprietary. Does that answer your question?
So, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think so. One of the things that does often come up when it comes to learning management is the whole idea of we spent the whole our whole lives trying to keep servers and staff members off their devices, but now we're delivering new things on their devices. How do you guys manage that?
Yeah, that's so insightful, actually. You can tell that you've done this before.
It's my whole life. And it's no, don't go in the corner, but we need you to learn. So this is the way you learn nowadays. And really, quite frankly, my next follow-up question, so you can answer it while you're at it, is the whole TikTokification, if that's even a word of training, because nobody wants to sit and listen to. When I trained in restaurants 30 years ago, it was like you walked around behind a server or you sat in a classroom for hours and hours, and nobody has that kind of time span or that attention span anymore. So it's got to be quick hits and it's got to be knocking through those different things really quickly. And so you guys are delivering it digitally. How are you guys managing the digital side of things and keeping people off their devices in front of the guests, especially?
Yeah, in front of the guests, honestly, we haven't really struggled with that too much. The staff is pretty good, or we're pretty good at getting the staff to go and hide when they need to do something on their phone. There is always the struggle too with having different generations or age groups within the restaurant. We still have employees nowadays that aren't tech forward. They might not have a
Yeah.
smartphone still. And so it's a real struggle for them to figure out, I'm supposed to have my schedule on an app? What does that mean? For us, we had to change our perspective on what it meant to be on your phone at work. And it does take a little bit of trust as well, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to sneak up behind my staff and peek over their shoulder to see what they're doing on their phone. Never.
Yeah.
But if I see them on their phone and their job's being done and they're doing what they're supposed to, that's that. I have to respect that. They're adults and they have lives. We do have tablets that we have within our locations. So if people don't want to use their personal device, or if they're a prep cook, for example, they might not want to rest their phone next to a big immersion blender. So we have big
Makes sense.
tablets that have cases and are waterproof, and we keep those logged in within the system. So that's how we do it, changing our perspective on devices really, and trying to have a more human approach to it, because people understand, don't be on your phone in front of guests. And so if they understand that, I have to understand that maybe they need to send a text, or maybe they're just logging in to do a checklist. But if the job's done, like, what do I care?
Yeah. No, and again, having done this for a long time, it's that always that divide of I got to deliver the content, but I got to be careful not to do that. Chris, I'm gonna pivot here just for a couple of minutes. You talked about guest recidivism and just being able to get guests to come back in and knowing who those guests are. Help me understand how you guys are doing that, because you're not a huge brand, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way, but I guess, how big is the brand overall? You're not Applebee's or Chili's, or where they're measuring them in the number of thousands of stores. You guys are less than a dozen, I think.
Yeah, yeah. We have 8 that are projected to open. And of course, we've got some pipelines and all that fun stuff, but currently we've got 8 that are projected to open over the next year or 2. So still very much an emerging brand, a small brand. The way that we really track or focus on guest recidivancy is through our loyalty program. That tracks purchases of loyalty members. They get discounts for participating. And we also use a lot of third-party data as well, specifically AI or cell phone data to see where guests are going or what, not guests are going, but clientele in general, what our clientele is doing. And then again, it really comes down to one of our foundational beliefs is that happy people come back. And so we make sure that people are happy or that we do everything we can to make them happy. And that's honestly built a huge following, a huge group of regulars to where I have guests that eat with us every single day. There's a gentleman that, was our first customer and he does work for us on the side for some site maintenance. And he's a single guy and he eats dinner here every single night, 6 to 7 nights a week. And it's great. He's part of the family. So we just try to make sure that people have a reason to come back first and foremost, and that we make our value proposition and our pricing reasonable enough to where our target clientele could afford.
Yeah, I'd love to get inside of your guys' leadership team, Christian, because the amount of investment for a brand that has less than a dozen stores in tools, in systems is incredible. I know brands that have in the triple digits number of stores that don't have loyalty systems where they're looking at data. They don't have a learning management system that's 100 hours plus of that content. And where does that cultural ilk come from? Because you guys not only are delivering an incredible product on the food side, but also doing it in a sustainable way that doesn't sound like you're having to work a million hours a day to try and keep things on the rails. You guys are investing in the restaurant so that you can be successful. And I love that you're here on the show to share some of these things. So how do you guys, was it a cultural thing? Is it to help me understand how can you guys invest so much time and energy in these systems at such a small size relative to some of your peers?
It's a really great question. And honestly, the only answer that I would have legitimately is that we were just willing to spend the money to build the systems, to create that foundation, and ultimately to have a product that we'd offer franchisees that we felt good about in the same way that we feel good offering our food or our drinks to customers. Personally, I'm 33 years old. I've been at this brand going on 13 years now. I started as the first employee and I worked my way up to my position over that time. And in that time, I've gotten my master's and I've done everything that I could to be better. But as somebody younger that's still willing to work a bajillion hours, we just wanted to do something that we felt good about. And I don't know if that really answers your question, but just looking for
And I think in general, you guys should be proud of what you guys have built, not only on the food side, but just this system that's going to be able to, if you guys continue to invest in it. And I love that you see it as an investment of time and money, because all too many people that I see out in the space just see it as a cost. They don't see an LMS as an investment. They don't see this loyalty package as an investment. They don't see looking at cell phone data and competitors' data in your areas as an investment. They see it as a cost to the business. And then they don't, because they see it as a cost to the business, they don't necessarily value it the same way that they might an investment. I love that you guys have already built that and are at a place that you guys want to start growing. So help our listeners understand where are you guys at now, and you've got a pipeline, but what are you looking for? And tell me a little bit more about where does the point fit and where are those areas that you guys are looking to expand and to grow?
right now, we're really targeting 4 states primarily. Of course, we're open to more, but that's just where we've been growing organically currently. We're in Texas, of course, we're in Colorado and the Denver area. We're in Salt Lake City, Utah, and those surrounding suburbs and towns. And then, of course, we're in Southern Oregon, where our headquarters are. We would love to continue to grow nationwide, but we're really focusing our resources on those 4 spaces. And from a target franchisee perspective, we're really just looking for folks that want to emulate our culture and are looking to have an open mind on how it pertains to the restaurant space. Of course, we like individuals that have business experience. Restaurant experience is always a plus, but with our learning management system, we do love to train people. And then our investment standpoint is pretty basic as far as restaurant goes, in that we've got a very standard $40,000 franchise fee, which actually across the restaurant industry is relatively low.
Really
Actually,
inexpensive.
yeah, yeah. And then from a model, we wanted it to be very scalable. And so we shy away from any specialized equipment or costly equipment investments. I started our first restaurant here that I'm in today. Actually, we started it by purchasing a storage unit, sight unseen, of restaurant equipment. And we found a building and we just rolled it in one day and installed stuff and then opened up pretty quickly afterwards. So that's really our vision for franchise locations. Of course, it has to be polished, but we do want it to be an approachable cost standpoint to allow people to, again, be more profitable than our competition.
Yeah, and so are you guys looking for end caps? Are you guys looking for pods out in the middle of the parking lot? Is it high density, low density, suburbs? Have you guys narrowed in? Do you guys do any non-traditional airport locations and those kind of things? And again, I know you guys are young in your franchising career, but for those that are like, oh no, I've got a perfect XYZ brand that just went out of business. Let me go call these guys and figure it out. And so I'd love to get an idea of the footprint. Is it 5,000 square feet? Is it 20,000 square feet? Is it 80,000 square feet? Love to understand. And obviously that's a huge gap, but kind of what does the footprint need to look like for people to be successful in a point to pub and grill? And what are the demographics, psychographics that are around the stores that you guys have seen to be doing well?
Yeah. Yeah. So, our footprint is actually it's a pretty wide range. We really look for stores right around that 2,000 or 2,100 square feet. And then we can go all the way up to 3,200 square feet from a franchise perspective. The corporate location that I'm in today, though, is 7,200 square feet. And we do private events here. We do on-site, off-site catering. We have our corporate offices, of course. And then all of our locations have outdoor patios. So there is a huge range of where we can put the model. And from a franchise perspective, we like to offer services that support the model in more of an a la carte format. And so I like to describe it as like a Swiss Army knife, right? And so
Mhm.
you're an individual in Utah, for example, and you have this great location in your town and it's 2,000 square feet and you want a very lean model. We have systems in place for kiosks and QR code ordering or contactless payment, countertop ordering, all of that we have in place and built out. So you can implement those systems at that location. That model would work great for an airport or like a limited service model as well. And then, of course, if you wanted to do something larger, you can get up to that 3,000 plus square feet and you can offer catering both on site and off site. You can do special events. Everybody does chef specials. That's a big part of who we are. But again, that Swiss Army knife. So look at the services that we offer and then fit that to the model so it does actually feel like a neighborhood pub. The neighborhoods are unique across the US, right? So we want to have services to address that.
Yeah, and I love that you guys are willing to not just make it super cookie cutter, but it's gonna fit the vibe of what you're looking for. Likely
Yes.
in Salt Lake City or in Utah, it's gonna look a little bit different than it does in Texas, and definitely than Southern Oregon. So, Christian, how do people learn more? How do people get in touch with you to get to a place where they could dig in a little bit and see if this is the right fit for them?
So we are on social media. You can find us online at our website, which is lovemypoint.com. You can go directly to our franchising page if you want, which is pointfranchising.com. We've got an inquiry form there you can fill out. You can send me an email at franchise@lovemypoint.com or just give me a call directly and it's 541-500-3383.
Awesome. And I can't state it enough. The thing that I talk a lot of times with restaurant tours and restaurant technologists is the proper investment, time, money, and energy to get things right before you scale is huge. And it sounds like you guys have done a lot of that heavy lifting early on. So congratulations on that, because brands that are 10 times your size have not made the same level of investment. So congrats on that. Congrats on the already successful business as you guys are continuing to grow. And thank you for sharing some of your wisdom and experience with our listeners.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for your time. And Hopefully we can meet up again in a year and see how things have gone.
Yeah, no, and as I said to you privately, but I'll say it to the group, I will be checking out a store that's about 20 minutes from my house here soon, and I'll let everybody know how it went. Maybe I'll take a little selfie and out in front and post it with this episode. Christian, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing the wisdom. Thank you for sharing all of what you guys do to kind of make the world a better place. To our listeners, guys, as I said on the onset, thank you guys for hanging out with us this week. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe on your favorite listening platform and or YouTube if that's your preference, and make it a great day.